Hi, my name's Reg. I'm with Northline International Group, and today we're going to be having a look at the standard loadout of a foreign fighter in Ukraine. We're going to start with the UAR-15. The UAR-15 is a Ukrainian derivative made by a company called Ukrop, which was to basically standardize the Ukrainian forces and start to move away from the old Soviet designs of things. It's much more modular. It's based, of course, on the American M4 and M16 platform. It started production around about 2014 after the first invasion, and they decided to roll these out across the Ukrainian armed forces. All in all, it's exactly the same as an American platform. There's two variants of it, a newer one and a slightly older one. You can usually tell by the selector switch. If the selector switch is not ambidextrous, it's an older model like mine here, and the newer ones have ambidextrous switches. They're very modular, and that was basically the point, is that you can basically build your own rifle the way you need it for the operations that you're going to be doing. Starting with mine, I like to keep the old buttstock on. I don't see any problems with these old buttstocks that they come with. They're fine, nothing Gucci, nothing special, but I've never really considered it so much of a big problem for me. Moving up the rifle, the first thing that I always change is the charging handle. Now, I'll just unload this real quick. With the charging handle, I don't know if you can see that there behind my sight, but it's pretty large. I need it large so that in the cold weather, when we're operating with gloves, I can get that hooked on there and I don't have to look. I can focus on my target. You can get a lot of these ones. This one, I believe, hold on. Yeah, this one is a Firearm. I don't know if you can see that there. Firearm is a Ukrainian company. They make pretty good stuff. It's got that nice little spring so that I'm not fumbling around, and I can use it with both hands to charge if I need to for whatever reason. Moving on, the pistol grip. Now, the pistol grips on the UARs are generally quite good. They're nothing special. I've seen a lot of guys basically use kind of like hot soldering irons to put an artificial grip on there by just making lots of little dots, and as it sinks into the material, it creates a little ring around it, and that gives you some good grips, especially with gloves. On my specific rifle, the next thing that I like to change is the bad lever. Now, the bad lever, this one is made by Magpul, and basically it just comes from the release, brings it around to transfer the action onto this side. So for example, when I'm held to the rear, what it will do is I will hit that and it will release the bolt forward. If I just get an empty mag, what it's going to do is, as you're firing, it's going to hold to the rear once you're out of ammunition, and basically you're going to take out, put a new mag in, and then rather than having to come out and do this, or to do this, I just put in, release immediately, and straight back up to firing. Really takes those milliseconds off when you're able to just take out, put in, and back to shooting. Before you come at us in the comments, no, this is not some kind of Nazi symbol or something like that. It is the idea of the nation symbol of Ukraine. It's a Ukrainian nationalist symbol. Now, not nationalist in the same way that we think of in the West, okay? It's just the idea that the nation of Ukraine should exist and we should fight for it. That's all. Some people say it looks like the Volksangle, so I'm going to put on screen here the Volksangle and the idea of the nation symbol. It literally stands for IN, idea of the nation. It's basically the symbol that Ukrainians have used for a long time, long before this war. So before you come at us in the comments, it's not a Nazi symbol, for God's sake. The next thing on my rifle is the ACOG sight. Now, ACOGs are, in my opinion, just all around the best sights you can use. You have the magnification, but you also have the RMR on top, so you're able to engage at close ranges without getting stuck into that sight. This thing has been through literally the wars. It has been blown up more times than the entire British Army at this point. and it still held zero every time. I've never had a problem with it. It's absolutely solid, and I can see why these are still in production today, all the way back from the 90s. It is an amazing bit of kit. They are 4x mag, and then they don't use any battery source. They use the strip up here, which basically uses the sunlight into a fiber optic, and the fiber optic produces that light that you need, and it like self dims and self brightens under the light depending on what this strip picks up. You can obviously manipulate that by covering this with tape if you want it darker or lighter, and taking tape on and off. It's the same with the RMR. It's daylight activated, so you never have to worry about changing batteries or anything like that. Super good, super easy, super simple, and I think it's probably the best bit of kit I own, to be honest. I cannot say enough about these old school ACOGs. They're fantastic, they're brilliant. Moving up, I have changed out this rail, so the original rails come pretty short. When I aim, I like to get the nice long clamp and the C-grip, and I like to be able to put my arm out. I feel like that has more control for me, just personally, so I like this to be nice and long. This one is a Ukrainian company, and I'm not sure the exact name. You know what? Maybe not. I don't know. I'll try and find out and put it on the video later on. But yeah, I like these long ones. It's very modular. It keeps things out of the way. So even as I've got that long clamp, a long grip, I'm not hindered by my own D-ball, which we'll get onto later. Nice and long, and gives me a lot of real estate to put stuff on there, and that's what I really like about that. Talking of the D-ball, so this one is just the D-ball A2. It's a pretty good model. I have no problems with it at all. It does the job. It has the IR and the visible light and the lasers. It's super good. The batteries last a while. I've never had any problems. It's never shifted. It keeps it zero. The D-balls are very good for urban environments, especially just because you want that laser so that you're getting those milliseconds on the enemy. If you end up face to face, that laser takes away the need to get a clear sight picture onto the enemy. You can just use the laser and just put it on him and just fire off. With that, you can see here I have the cable leading to the pad, the sensor pad. So I like this here because with this little shark fin here, I'm able to use it just by flexing my thumb like this. So I can flex my thumb and it'll turn it on. So that when I'm clamped, all I have to do is squeeze the clamp, and as you can see the light there at the back, I squeeze the clamp and it comes on. I squeeze the clamp twice, and you can see there's a light and a laser, and I can switch them on and off as I like. IR floodlights or visible light spectrum. The great thing about these touchpads, I guess, as well, is that they come with these little M-lock holders, and the M-lock holders basically just, you can put it on wherever you want on the rail, whether it be underneath for whatever reason you'd want to do that, or on the side, wherever you want it. If you wanted it here, it just goes on to wherever it can M-lock onto. They're pretty good. It's very secure, and then it's important to just get one of these bands to keep that wire in place for good wire management. Good wire management is the bane of a lot of soldiers' life, but keep it simple, stupid, basically, is how I would advise to run that. It's probably not so essential if you are holding trenches.
Yo. Пиздец. Big time fucking пиздец.
But if you're definitely doing more of an assault action type job, or DRG or sabotage type work, yeah, for sure, these are a good addition to the system. On the bottom here, I do have a little shark fin. I like it. It's minimalist. It doesn't get in the way. Even if that's not exactly where I want my clamp, I can bring it back or forward like such, and just basically use it to hook the ends of my fingers as I wish. And I like that a lot. It doesn't get in the way, and it's super easy to get a solid, firm grip onto. On the ends, I would usually have a detachable, a quick detach suppressor. For me, it's more valuable to have it something that you can just quickly put on or off depending on that specific part of the mission, because you might be going from moving in the night to moving in the day, moving up close to moving far. Sometimes you actually want that sound. Sometimes you want that sound to scare the enemy, especially if you're going to blast off in the initial contact. with automatic fire. You want them to feel that sound and that vibration in the air. The reason I don't have it on right now is because this rail is pretty new, and right now it comes a little bit too far, so I need to get this shaved down a little bit just to be able to make sure that this seamlessly goes on the top there. Speaking next about the sling. Now, this is by no means the best sling you can buy. This is a gift from one of my old friends who's dead now, and I just can't bring myself to get a new one. If it's not broken, don't fix it, and also it carries the memories along with my friend. You have to have a 2-point sling in war. All these guys running and gunning with 1-point slings, that's flat range stuff. The only time I would have a 1-point sling, is if I have a shotgun and I'm able to basically put a magnetic piece onto my belt, and then I would then sling it onto my belt so that when I need it, I just rip it off and it's still on one sling and I'm able to engage that target. But that is the only time I would use a 1-point sling. 2-point slings are essential, and also they've got to be extendable, because you don't want to be operating in this tiny little bit here just because your sling doesn't allow you to go any further. So this, for example, most of the time you're going to be around your neck. I actually just made this myself. I just got a bit of old material and basically just fashioned it on like such so that I can bring it in and out. So with your slings, even if you take contact and there's explosions or something,
Johnny, this is Reg, Roger.
when you let it go, it's just going to stick to your body like such. And then you can scramble around in the mud, do whatever you need to do, but at least the last thing you've got to worry about is losing your rifle, which might be the only way out. If I had a recommendation for slings, I like the destroyer ones. They are, I don't know if they're Ukrainian actually. I've only seen them a lot here in Ukraine. In the British military, I didn't really see them a lot, but the destroyer ones are very, very good. They're also pretty fashionable if you care about that at all. Just on the end here, I like to have these little clips. They're able to just basically change the end of your sling to hook onto wherever you want to. You can also buy them with M-lock attachments for your M-lock rails or Picatinny, whatever you want. And it's very simple. They basically just work on a lever system, and they just clip into the pre-designated holes. And that's it. Strong, secure, safe, no big issue with that. On the top here as well, for the other side of the sling, it's just a Magpul Picatinny attachment that just has a loop here that you can just put these on, and you can put this up or down the rail wherever you like it, wherever is comfortable. So that is pretty much the rifle. Now, it's no different really to what you'd be given in the American forces. The reliability seems generally good. I've never personally had a problem with this, but I have known people to have problems with it. It's entirely case by case, which I guess is a point against this system, because it, rather than mass standardization of good quality, it's mostly good quality and there's some defects. But when they're pumping these out in the middle of a war, we all understand that sometimes those quality control factors can slip. Moving on to the Fort 20. Fort 20 is the standard issue sidearm. Work on the 9mm, same NATO round as any. Nothing special about the magazines or the rounds really. It's based on kind of a Frankenstein between a Glock and a SIG, I guess, but of course it's not the same quality. So basically, just like any other pistol, you're just going to run it back a little bit, push it up, and then just run it off the rail, and it comes in the same pieces as any standard pistol really. You have the spring, you have the barrel, it's exactly the same. It's just the same to go back on. You just run it along the rails, that's it. You just pull this little clip down, and then it's just gonna go straight back on like so. The one thing I do like about these is the safety, especially for my hands. It just seems to be exactly where I need it to. When I draw it out, I'm just naturally going to hit that and go to the trigger. Another thing I like about these is that this backside here, in the pack comes a few of them with different thicknesses. So if your hand is a little bit larger or smaller or thicker, whatever it is, then you can change the back piece out just to get a better natural grip for you. For me, I like to use the medium one. It just fits nicely into my hand, and it's able to just do the trick very nicely. I find that I would actually say because of the ergonomics of this, it's actually more comfortable than a Glock for me. I know that's a big claim, but I seem to fire more accurately with this than I do with Glocks. It is a mass-produced last resort. If you're using a pistol, things have probably gone wrong, or it's such a niche part of the mission that it's not considered standard. Now, some of the stories that we've had is guys crawling into these holes, having to use their pistol because the Russians are famous for just digging, even in concrete basements, they'll dig through the concrete and make tunnels underneath. So sometimes you do actually need these to get in there. This system in general, not bad. I've never personally had any issues with this. They've got a nice little bit of Picatinny on the bottom there. It's relatively hard to get the plate made to put sights on. Not impossible, but because of the dimensions of this, it's quite hard to get a plate that would be suitable for it. It's worked when the guys have needed it to work, and that's basically the main thing, right? Now I move on to the AK, the famous AK. This is sometimes standard issue. I've noticed in the Ukrainian Armed Forces, it's mostly the rear line units that are using this now, or the smaller brigades. A lot of artillery and stuff like that. I would say it's roughly 50-50 now between the M4 platforms and the AKs, maybe slightly in favor of the M4s. There's obviously more AKs just because, you know, Soviet Ukraine was absolutely rammed full of these things. But this here is actually a trophy that we got from some Russians. All in all, pretty good system. It works the way you need it to, and that's about it. I've made some modifications, so I like to pull the safety selector switch out a little bit, just so it's easy to move with one finger, two fingers, and whatever you need to do, so that you're not trying to pull this old cheeky number while the enemy's, you know, taking aim at you. On top, I have an aim point, relatively old aim point now, but it does the trick and it works the way I need it to. What I've managed to do is actually change this dust cover at the back. Now, these things, you'd think that they wouldn't hold zero very well, but the thing is, AKs weren't exactly designed to hold zero at very long distances. They were supposed to be rough and rugged and work when you need them to. It holds enough zero, or if not, you can just put one on the front side here. So these stay in place, but then of course you also have to take these off to get to the gas parts inside. So not great. The alternative to that, I guess, is the butterfly. The butterfly attachment you can get on here, which basically just pins into here and then gives you a platform over the top, which you can operate this underneath, so you don't need to move the sight. But I feel like this does okay, especially for an AK. I've had no real problems with it. Some of the guys like to take them out, some of them don't. It is what it is, really. I know that you guys have already met Cheese. He likes to run his AK. You can see on the last video that we did. By the way, if you want to go watch that video, right here, it's very good. He likes to run his AK in the field. I think because Cheese is very edgy like that. No specific reason. I don't think the UAR is any worse in his eyes. He just likes to use the rifle of a man that he's killed, basically. That's just Cheese. We love Cheese. He's an absolute gremlin and a monster in the field. So all in all, that's roughly what you're going to be given. Obviously, the issues of logistics that come along with the 5.56 and the 5.45 is that you're going to find 5.45 everywhere in the field. It's everywhere. You'll never run out of it. So that's something to consider. I think that's part of the reason Cheese likes to take his. But the 5.56, we haven't got any shortage of 5.56 in this country. We never really have, as far as I've known. We get sent millions of these rounds, and we train with hundreds of thousands of them. It's not really a big problem. Yeah, so this is, I believe, an AK-12 magazine that we found on a Russian, and this is a pull mag. Pull mag Gen 3, I think, with a window. I like these. I find that the metal mags are a bit more iffy when it comes to the mud and the rain, but these P mags, the polymer mags, seem to be pretty good. Just 30 standard NATO 5.56 by 5.4 rounds. We've also tried the drum rounds. The drum rounds hold 60. They are okay, I guess. They can be kind of iffy given the weather and the environmental factors. Now it's a different story with the 9mm. The 9mm, there is a shortage in this country for whatever reason, especially certain ground forces like the National Guard or the Border Guards or these types, even some ZSU units, which is the Ukrainian Armed Forces ground units, always seems to be a big shortage of 9mm rounds there. We seem to have enough to train with and operate with. We've never really had a problem with ammunition in that way. Of course, it would be ideal if we could all go and fire 100,000 rounds each at the range to get our skills up, but we've not really needed that, especially with the tempo of missions. You don't really have a lot of time to go and do that, so you just squeeze it in whenever you can. That's basically how it works. So I would say in general, this is the standard loadout. Usually, I did see on one of the comments of the last videos who gets given pistols. So usually it's team leaders, machine gunners for obvious reasons, and sometimes medics, because the medics will give off their rifle as they're treating the casualty, and at least they still have that sidearm. That's dependent on the commanders of the unit, but that's the way I like to do it with my unit. We do have some other things, like we usually have a UGL, the anti-slung grenade launcher, which is the Fort 600. That would go underneath the rail, and basically it would just sit as either detached or attached UGL underneath, exactly the same as the ones that you're used to in NATO. Slightly different for the AKs. The AKs have the old Soviet systems. I don't really like them a lot. They're iffy. They sometimes work, sometimes don't, and they're incredibly dangerous to the shooter himself. Some stories about dudes who lost fingers and stuff like this just because it gets stuck, and then you have to put your finger inside to try and get it out and stuff like that. It's not an ideal system. But with the grenadiers, our grenadiers, it's about 50-50. Some of them like to carry them separately and be able to pull that tool out, and some of them like it on the rifle. So I think that's it today. Now I could do things like break down the parts, but you can find a million videos online. This was specifically pointed at what do the Ukrainian ground forces use, so I'm not going to break these down for you. But if you guys really want that, then put it in the comments, and I'm sure we can do it. It's not a huge problem. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. I know some guys have some questions about who we are. We come from units within the Ukrainian Armed Forces. We're currently serving, and we're basically just an olive branch out to the guys who maybe are thinking about it or are coming out or just want to know more, or guys who are interested in warfare and stuff like this. We can share this information with people who want to hear it, and that's it really. Visit the channel, look at the videos, like, subscribe, do whatever you've got to do, only if you want to, of course, but we get paid more if you do, so that would be much appreciated.